Good day, everyone. For this session, I'm going to discuss to you the accounting equation and a double entry system or the double entry bookkeeping system because it has two sides. So for those who have visited the respective videos before, I've used another source. That was the Lopez's book discussing about analysis of transactions and rules of debit and credit. So this particular video is coming from another source that is Bayada. So take note, this is just for educational purposes and appreciation of their work. Okay, so this will be a three-part series. I've decided to divide the very lengthy lecture into three parts so that it will be easier for us to go over the details and we can explain also properly. Okay, so we can see on the screen the basic accounting equation that we will discuss on a certain part of this particular series. So we have here the three accounting elements that can be found on the balance sheet or statement of financial position that shows the financial position of the entity as of a specific period of time. So it's at the end of a certain period and its cumulative balances to speak with or to talk about. So you have here the assets, liabilities, and the equity. Assets are resources owned by the business, equals liabilities, which are the financial obligations that we talk about in accounting. So we talk about financial matters or any items or accounting elements that are in pesos. Then we also have shareholders' equity. So these are the owner's claims on the assets of the business. Okay, so basically this is the accounting or basic accounting equation that we talk about. All right, and then also for that, let's look now into the copy or the source. So this is the best version that I got. Please just be patient for the discussions. Anyhow, to begin with or discuss, so hopefully it's visible on your screen, here are our learning objectives in the chapter. So we are just going to have this one. We describe the parts of an information system. Then we are going to explain how an accounting information system helps the decision makers. So what is this accounting information system and how it helps? Then we also have to define the elements of financial statements. So we are going to focus on those three particular objectives or outcomes that every student should get or earn at the end of the chapter. Okay, so here is a case here talking about a lot of companies like Microsoft, the software giant, Microsoft, and of course, a big US accounting firm, Deloitte and Tosh, that uses Verbex Engage 2.0. So this is a software that manage large projects that involve employees, subcontractors, and consultants worldwide. So basically, this particular software, of course, would be generating reports out of the inputs or data being placed on the system. And this particular reports will be used in the decision making or the analysis. And then, of course, this is going to be usable through internet. This could be offline or online. Of course, online for the exchange of information. Okay, so we can also see here subsequent discussions, but the point is that for every organization, whether big or small, there has to be an information system wherein it stores information coming from the data being placed. It generates outputs to be used by different users of such. So there has to be, because information that is accurate, reliable, verifiable is very much needed for the organization's success. All right, so that's the point of the case. Here we have the information system. So basically, an information system is components of a lot of things. Could be people and non-people. Could be tangible, so physically existing and intangible. So these items are there in order to achieve same goals and objectives for the organization. So as defined from this source, it is a collection of people, procedures, software, hardware, and data which works together to provide information essential to running an organization. So these particular components would contribute for the achievement of the common goals of the organization. So we have the people, which is considered as the most important resource in any organization because they are the ones using the other components. So without them, those components, no matter how high tech, no matter how nicely made or done, would be useless or rendered useless. So you have the people, you have the procedures. These procedures are the manuals and guidelines. So basically, these are the steps that the users would be using on how to use the software and the hardware. So for software, this is not a new thing to you if ever you're able to have like CS or computer science subjects or even IT, simple computer subjects in whatever form. Could be a seminar, could be really a subject at school, or like materials online or videos on YouTube, for example. So software would be intangible because we cannot actually touch it, but of course we can see it, but it has not have or it does not have physical substance. There are two types: the system, which is the operating system in which all other softwares cannot function without such. So we have Windows and Linux, which are examples of popular operating systems. Then application software would be the softwares that are there for general purpose problems. So we have the basic applications and the advanced. The basic applications normally would be those common items that we make use of to process also basic items or files or documents, just like the browsers, word processor, spreadsheet, or Excel, the DBMS, database management system, and the presentation graphics like PowerPoint, Microsoft PowerPoint. Advanced applications would be those really particular apps wherein we would really be getting the best of the worlds. I would say that. So example would be multimedia, just like, for example, Messenger or Zoom or Google Meet, then Skype, for example. Also the apps which are really used for gaming, those are really advanced. Then even the social media apps, those are really advanced items. And even getting the information, really artificial intelligence. So that's something. Even the apps which are used, for example, for, let's say, beautification or design, or let's say making calendars for activities and etc. Those are advanced applications. Then hardware. The hardware would be the physical items which can be divided into the input, output, storage, and the communication devices and the system unit. Communication devices, though, could be classified into output in certain cases or situations. So we have here the input in which they're being used to place information on the computer. So we have the keyboard, mouse, scanner, the digital camera, and the microphone. The input devices would normally partner with the output. So system unit is that big, normally black rather, box, rectangular in shape, containing the CPU, which is the heart of the computer. So this is like the brain of a human being. It controls and manipulates data to produce information. The memory is the hard disk there, the primary storage that temporarily holds data, program instructions, and process data. Then we can also have secondary storage devices that we normally have, like our flash drives or memory drives. Basically, that's not the USB. The USB is the basically that particular area there. We're in universal serial bus, we call that. That is where we're going to insert our cord. So basically, there's the port there, USB port. So some would be saying, you have your USB. That's not the USB. It's the flash drive. That's why it's called a flash drive, because it flashes when you insert it to a certain computer or any other device. Okay. Then we also have hard disk. So those, like, we would say circular, or let's say in form of circles, black disks. and the optical disc like the CD and the DVD. So these are devices in which you can really store information. The output devices would be the ones that would generate the output that we actually base upon our input placed on the system. So example, for keyboard, we have written the respective words or paragraphs or whatever words that we place there on Microsoft Word. We save it and we want it to be in hard copy or on hard copy. We print the document. So the printer would be the output device. It will really generate the input to become output. Then you also have the monitor, so the screen of the computer, which shows, for example, the video, whatever you're watching there, could be typing, etc. So it's there. Another one is the speaker, in which it would generate the output. Okay, so those are items that we can take note of, and even communications devices. So example of that would be a modem that send and receive data and programs from one computer to another. So in this case, it's like both an input and an output because it gets the information and it also generates the output. Okay, on the other hand, a data is the raw fact or facts, the raw material for data processing. And this particular information actually comes from or came from or come from the data or raw facts. So once we process the data, such would become information. On the other hand, we must think that information though can also be data in another situation. So example, here is a data that so to close that, once again, we process the data, such would become information. And normally the data, once becoming information, would be in a form of document, a worksheet, or a database. So stored information is database. Next, information system, of course, would be there depending on the functional departments of the organization. So the functional departments would normally be the different departments that are functioning independently, but of course, interdependently, I would say that from or with the different departments. So they have certain functions which are segregated because they're normally incompatible with the others. So one example, it could be accounting, that's one department. Another would be human resources or personnel, which would look into the hiring, the recruitment, the training, the development of the respective employees and staff, and even the top management. So in that case, for the accounting, which is our course, we also have the accounting information system. Every business must have an accounting information system which will generate reliable financial information needed by the decision makers in a timely manner. So we want that we get the information and we can use that for our decision making. It doesn't have to be 100% accurate or reliable for as long as it is with only immaterial errors. We cannot achieve 100% accuracy. And as soon as it is available, then it can be furnished for the decision makers' usage, because it is useless that we have 100% accurate information, but it is not given on time. All right. So that's also the point of timeliness versus accuracy. Then the design of the accounting information system must be there so that it would answer or respond to the needs of the various users of such information. And as defined in information system, it is combination of people or personnel, the communication devices, the hardware, the software, and etc. in order to achieve the common goal. So the more with the accounting information system that it's there, it's just that it will produce information that are financial in nature. So normally it's the financial statements that would be generated in the process. So we can see here the flow. We have the accounting, of course, process here on top. But in terms of looking into, so we have here the economic activities first. So these different economic activities would normally result to certain transactions or events that could be accountable. And then there's also the non-accountable. We will only focus with the so-called accountable events because these events would have impact on the financial statements, on the sense that there would be debits and credits, and the debits and credits would have also relationships with accounting elements, either debit or credit also. So after that, of course, we have to process. We follow the steps in the accounting cycle or process to generate the accounting information in the form of financial statements, and these financial statements will be used by the decision makers for their actions. Then the actions will become economic activities. So basically, it's a cycle. And it is also said that in terms of the policies and procedures to be followed in the accounting process, we have to follow the accounting manual. Normally, there is the accounting manual available for the organization. Then, if it's not specific, it is perhaps merged with other policies or manuals. An effective accounting information system would be, of course, beneficial in terms of the cost. It is the minimum or the minimal level, and the benefits must exceed the cost. Then the assets must be protected, the data must be reliable, and we are going to minimize waste, and we should be able to detect the possibility of theft or fraud that's controlled. Then compatibility is that our effective AIS should be in harmony with our entity's organizational and human factors. So it must be that our specific accounting information system should be aligned and complementary and should support the overall corporate objectives, the goals, and the targets, our quotas as a whole for the company, if we take that as a whole. Then the fourth one is flexibility. So it must be that our system should be able to accommodate, just in case there would be some challenges on the system, it should be able to stretch out for the stress or stressors that would get into the respective system. Then after that, here are now the types of accounting information systems. So basically, we can just say that it's manual versus computerized. In the traditional world, we have the manual systems, wherein, of course, everything is manually written on paper or any piece of paper. For computer-based transaction systems, they replace paper records. So we now employ the usage of computers of whatever generations from prior up to the present. On the other hand, we also have the database systems in which we embed accounting data within the business event data on which they are based. So database systems would be placing the outputs into specific storage devices. So here we can see two discussions, because in today's world, we are now on computer-based and the database systems. But then we cannot like have 100% really computerized, because there are for sure certain businesses wherein there are some parts that the information are still kept on paper, because that's a requirement also to keep hard copies. Now, the point is that we will minimize the manual system because that's going to be very time consuming. It would also employ a lot of efforts, and it would actually consume the energies of people. Then the manual systems would also lead to the reports prone to errors, because humans as we are, we can be subject to fatigue, to stress. We can have lapse of judgment, so we cannot analyze properly because we are tired already. We have stressors also around us, so that's the point of such. That's why to overcome these deficiencies, then many companies have computerized their accounting processes. All right. So a computer-based transaction system maintains accounting data separately from other operating data. So this means that accounting records are also kept separately from the other records. So in fact, these expenditure, revenue, and conversion are still within the accounting, but they are separated. The more with the other functional departments like human resources, like purchasing, like information technology, and etc. Then basically, it's just the same as manual system, except again that the processes now are with the usage of computers. So it's now uncomputerized. So we can now generate the information easily, just like, for example, the first step of accounting process is journalizing. So once you are able to analyze the transactions properly, which of them should be journalized, the debit, credit, and the amount, we now encode that on the system. In fact, after that, we can generate the report like in one click. Of course, with certain data that are inputted or information that are inputted on the system. Okay, then we can also make use of accounting packages. So these are softwares which are available. And these softwares would constitute like modules. So these modules are basically the manuals or programs that contain steps or procedures as to how do we use the respective software for the accounting processes that we do. So a simple accounting package might consist of only one module. You call that a standalone, or it can be also several modules, which you call a suite. So examples would include QuickBooks and Peachtree. So in the future, you'll have QuickBooks. On the other hand, if you say database system, so it's on top of the computerized. So these database systems would, aside from the accounting, which is computerized, there's already other functional departments which are placed there and would have connection to our accounting. So in fact, for the human resource, it's embedded there and other functional departments. However, the accounting information portion will just generate the reports that are financially related, of course. So we now talk about ERP systems, enterprise resource planning systems, which be combination of different functional departments that would generate both financial and non-financial information. And these are stored in the warehouse. So the point of this is that we would reduce inefficiencies and redundancies because this can be costly in the long run. If there are errors, inefficiencies, redundancies, if we now total them in so many years, they can be very costly to the organization. So we want to be efficient. We want to minimize them. If you say efficiency, it means that we are able to achieve, or efficiency means the ability to achieve the goals and objectives of the organization with the least amount of resources used. So, or lesser if you have two alternatives. So that's efficiency. While effectiveness is just being able to achieve the goals and objectives of the organization without respect to the resources used. All right. So that's database systems. Advantages would be the system recognizes business rather than just accounting events. So again, we also consider other events, could be non-financial, could be financial, could be non-accounting also included. The system supports reduction in operating inefficiencies, okay, and we eliminate redundant data asset. Next, the stages of data processing would be that it's going to be input, process, and output. So basically the input would be, as said a while ago, the economic activities, the economic information, which would be processed, and the process is accounting and would generate the output. The outputs would be the financial statements, which are being, of course, used for decision-making purposes. And that's why in many situations, manual systems are inferior to computerized systems because, again, in manual, we just have to be very careful because we can easily get mistaken in terms of calculating. For example, like the amounts that we place in our calculators, we can be very prone to errors. However, if we use computerized, we can be productive, so we can be speedy, we can provide information that are accessible, of quality outputs, and we can minimize the incidence of errors and bulk. All right, so that's it for the accounting information system. On the other hand, allow me to proceed to the elements of financial statements. So these are already discussed again in the Lopez's reference on the previous discussions. Hopefully you've checked them out. So these particular accounting elements are coming from the conceptual framework revised in 2018. The conceptual framework, make sure also to check my discussions of this one in accounting standards portion in CFAS, or conceptual framework and accounting standards. Assets, liabilities, and equity would relate to the reporting entity's financial position. And then on the other hand, if we talk about the performance, meaning the result of operations, whether profit or loss, whether we are profitable or not, so we talk about income and expenses. So these are the 5 accounting elements or values. So they are defined as accounting elements because they are the specific groups of similar accounts in which they would connect to a certain report's result, or let's say purpose. Like for financial position, that's a statement of financial position, formerly known as the balance sheet. And the financial performance is formerly known as income statement, now statement of comprehensive income. So these particular elements are basically the groups of the different account titles or accounts that we will know of. So let's define now each. We have the asset down to expenses. Asset is basically defined, as said a while ago on the picture, if you can remember, it means the resources, economic resources owned by the business. So the business has the right to control the asset, the right to produce the economic benefits, which are normally in the future sense or time. So these are obtained from past events. Liability, on the other hand, is present obligation arising from past events, which would involve the settlement or payment or settlement also of economic resources. So normally we transfer economic resources or assets specifically to settle them. Equity, on the other hand, is the residual interest. This is what is left after we deduct liabilities from assets. Then if we say income, income actually are the increases in assets or the decreases in liabilities. So basically, I can just define this as the gross inflows of economic benefits. These economic benefits, by the way, or costs can be in any form, could be quantitative in numbers or qualitative in words. Quantitative could be financial, could be non-financial. If we say financial, we talk about money. If non-financial, we talk about other amounts, meaning amounts other than money. So benefits can be in many forms, but we just have to measure the financial ones. Or if we can measure to financial terms, then we do that. So the income basically is the gross inflow of economic benefits. Expenses would be the opposite. It's the gross outflow. Inflow is coming in, outflow is going out of the organization because of the certain payments that should be done in terms of the expenses. Okay, so these are the 5 elements. Asset is actually revised because before the definition would normally think of an asset in which it's really more on the physical, meaning it's tangible. However, we also have now the intangible assets. Actually, that's for a long time already. So there are assets in which we do not have them physically, but then we have the right to control over the benefits of the asset and to produce these future economic benefits. So basically, they are also assets. And the definition is changed now into the right, or emphasis on the right. Okay, so in fact, even if these assets are not with us, they can still be our assets because of our right and control over them. Okay, so these are the examples. Example is right to receive cash. So that's our receivable, accounts receivable, for example. We have the right to receive cash. It's not tangible, of course, because right cannot be seen, but it's there. So that's why it is an asset. And we will be able to encounter these more as we go along the way. Then it could produce economic benefits, which can exist in many forms. So you can go over with them or such, but these are just examples of how a certain transaction could produce economic benefits. So example of that is if the entity could have one or more receive contractual cash flows or another economic resource. So basically, if you have this particular asset that you have controlled, so this would also generate cash flows. Example, machine. By machines, we produce the goods of the company. And if we produce the goods, we can sell them. So it's either we receive the payment in cash, or it's still on account, meaning a receivable, accounts receivable, and to be paid later on. So we have now the claims to cash. So the asset would produce the right to receive contractual cash flow. So basically, that's the point of it can produce economic benefits again. Then control is being said that it is the ability or present ability to direct the use of the economic resource. So we can create a right. Let's say we have a building space that we want to rent out to certain people. Then we have the right to do that, to create such. And we also have the right to stop it. Like you will only have the rent policy for 1 year. So after 1 year, then the tenant would go out of the respective building or would be transferring to another space because the contract has ended. So that's what the case of control in that situation is all about. Okay, so that's for asset. On the other hand, for liability as defined, financial obligations in the present time arising from past events. So obligation is a duty or responsibility in which we cannot avoid. We really have to do it. To pay our obligations, then we have to transfer any economic resource, could be cash and goods, or provide services and other items which you will know of in higher accounting. So we'll not discuss that here, but clearly there's a form of settlement of economic resources. It should be a result of past events only. So example, we have bought certain supplies or assets from the past and we did not pay yet. So that's a past event. On the other hand, the third accounting element is equity, in which it means the residual interest. Residual from the word residue. I've discussed this in discussions of conceptual framework. Allow me to repeat it again, that it is what is left after we deduct liabilities from the assets. These actually mean that they are the claims against the entity. So basically, if we look at assets on the left side, the right side would be the liabilities and equity. Make sure to check out the rules of debit and credit in the previous discussions, although I may be discussing this again in the next sessions. So right side, liabilities and equity. The liabilities would be the so-called creditors' equity because these are the claims of the creditors of the respective company. But the equity would be the claims of the owners. If the owners would be dependent to their respective legal form of business organization. For a sole proprietorship, we call the owner a proprietor or sole proprietor or owner. So the equity is called owner's equity. In a partnership, there are at least two owners and they're called partners. And the equity is called partners equity. The apostrophe is after S because it's plural. For corporation, we call them stockholders or shareholders. Notice the apostrophe after S. Shareholders is the new term under International Financial Reporting Standards. Then for cooperatives, we have members. We call the owners as members. Okay, that's for equity. Now, those are the financial position items. Then these are now the financial performance accounting elements. So we have the income and expenses as said, the gross inflow of economic benefits, and the gross outflow of the economic benefits. And the difference of the two would be the result of the operations, which could be profit or loss. Profit, also known as net income, is when income exceeds expenses. So there is a positive result, meaning we are able to have gains in the process. We gained out of what we have spent versus our earnings. On the other hand, if the opposite is true, then that is a loss or net loss, wherein it means that what we spent for the expenses is greater than what we earned in the process. All right, so that's the end of our first session for the series of this particular, the accounting equation and double entry system. So stay tuned for the next parts. Thank you much.